Dear Diary, it's me, Polly. Today is the day that I've been called for my 15-year DNA sequencing. Today is the day where they will find out. My parents have been trying to find a way to get out of it, but there is no way. There is no help. Dad says that he's heard that there are people who live underground, as in the tunnels and the sewers of the old world, the pre-AO, the arrival of the originals. Let me explain some things better in case someone finds this book, like that one that's in the Museum of AO Achievements. It's called The Diary of Anne Frank. Maybe someday my diary will be found, and 250 years from now will be in a museum too, behind the protective barrier. Maybe my voice will live on, not as an AO achievement. That's the unfair thing, the thing we've been dreading. But maybe some other type of museum. Things will be different in the future, right? Maybe not. Anyway, the originals are those who placed the human genome on the planet. They procured the humans. They nourished and guided them like the vines in a fine vineyard. The humans throughout history in pre-AO believed that there were gods who did this. They believed that they had come from dirt. Their comprehension was limited to a simpler way of thinking. The pre-AO humans believed in divine intervention. They believed in celestial heavens and fiery hells. And even those who claimed to not believe in such things were fundamentally programmed to believe in good and evil, and sometimes in what they called karma. However, their very destiny was already written into their DNA. The originals had planted within their DNA a gene that would mark the ones that were the brightest, the ones who were the strongest, the ones who were natural leaders and had the best possible chances of a strong lineage. The originals placed in front of humans obstacles such as disease, disaster, danger, mental illness, physical illness. There were those whose genes led them to create wars and to kill mercilessly. The humans believed that they had free will, but instead, the moment they were conceived, their DNA was written and their story was told for generations to come. One man's decision, led by his DNA, which might be fear-based or brave or intelligent reasoning, would lead to billions of ripples in which the DNA of others would react, and their ripples would lead to others. And this grand plan was to create a race where the only survivors would be brave, the reasoners, the protectors, the nurturers, and to weed out the fear-based thinkers. The thinker who reacts based solely on fear. They might not even know their own fear. Their fear that they weren't good enough, the fear that they'd be sent to a fiery hell, the fear that they not make enough money or have enough friends or marry the right person. The people who are afraid of anything or anyone different from themselves. They were the humans who, in the beginning, were afraid of fire rather than embracing its value. Those humans were the weakest of all, incapable of bravely thinking with intelligent reasoning, and the originals let the humans destroy those on their own as well. They let the fear-mongers wage war against the other fear-mongers. Then they marked those who were far above the rest. They placed on them the third eye. The third eye, which, even among the humans, oddly, went largely unnoticed. Many were bestowed with the third eye after their DNA was tested by a childhood disease. Now that disease has largely been eradicated, but sometimes one catches it in what they call the wild and achieves a third eye, and those who live underground can achieve the third eye as well. However, when they do, their family is likely to turn them over to the originals because they know their life will have the privilege of having the mark. That's what Dad says. In the pre-AO, as many as 1 in 10 had the mark, the third eye, the bestowment, placed between their eyes or eyebrows. In pre-AO, it was referred to as a Pox Scar. That was the name the humans had given the test, the chickenpox. Now, the third eye is on every forehead. It is there upon birth. We have evolved and no longer need to be tested by disease. However, occasionally there are those who are born without the eye, and they are seen as being possible fear thinkers who will revolt and cause death. And they are removed and terminated for the greater good. We hear stories that some are saved and hidden in the underground, where we are told there is murder and worse. My grandmother was the doctor who delivered me, and when I was removed from my mother's womb, I did not have a third eye. My grandmother quickly grabbed a tool she kept in her gown and punctured the skin just above the bridge of my nose. There were never any questions about my validity, although when I was 10 years old, the originals put into place a new law, which was to test the DNA of every human at the age of 15, when the year of fear thinking was thought to form, to be sure that there were no cheating. My grandmother had been born without the third eye, and the exact same tool used on me had been used on her to create the mark. That's why she had it with her. She had been fearful. Today is the day that the originals will find out that I am a fraud. Today, I will be terminated. Signed, Polly. Added 100 years later. Current laws state that DNA testing is no longer needed for children of 15 years old, that the human genome has perfected itself and has been stable for at least 125 years. The law is named for Polly, whose instant test had come back negative, but the 2-week Petri test came back positive for the third eye gene, and so she was terminated needlessly. According to the original's documentation, hers was the 1200 such case. Ironically, these tests were performed based on fear. Her diary is now a shrine to those whose deaths were a human tragedy.